video. And before we get into the video, please go on and click the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Let's go on and get into the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Wildwoods Beekeeping Podcast. Thank you all for joining tonight. And tonight we have Jed Smith at Jed's Beekeeping as our special guest. So thank you very much for joining me tonight, Jed.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Grayson.
Awesome. So my first question is, if you would just please briefly share with us a little bit about how you got into beekeeping and a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Utah. Let me tell you about myself first, then we'll talk about beekeeping. So I'm from Utah. I live here with my family. I've got 3 kids. Married to a beautiful wife, Nyla. She actually is on a trip right now, going to visit her sister in Washington. And my 3 kids, I've entered this stage of life where my kids are moving out of the house, which is fun. So I've got one son that's out in Boston. He's selling pest control. Imagine that, like selling pest control, and here we are beekeeping. But he's in Boston doing that, and I've got one son that's living in Argentina. He's been there for 2 years. He'll be coming home in 2 weeks, so we're excited about that. And then we've got our baby girl that just got her driver's license. She's 16. She lives at home and love it here in Utah. I was born in Idaho, but Utah is home and was raised here and love it. I got into beekeeping because, you know, the older I've gotten, the more I realize that I like hobbies. I like doing things where I can get a tangible result with my hands. So I like fishing. I like hunting. I like gardening. I like producing something with my hands. That doesn't mean I'm good at it, but it's what I like to do. And I had been fascinated by bees for years and years, and had done a little bit of research, but not much. And I can be kind of an impulsive guy. And I just decided one day, well, I'm going to stop thinking about it and I'm just going to do it. And this was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I bought a package of bees. I went to a local place that did bee packages, and I got them. And then I just started watching YouTube videos. And because bees were fascinating to me because, you know, it's this insect, it's this bug. You put it in a box. I didn't know what taking care of them meant, but they produce their own honey. Like they multiply themselves and they produce their own honey. And that concept was fascinating to me. And then the more I got into bees and the more I watched the YouTube videos and talked to people, the more and more fascinated I become. And so here I am, and I love it. Then I kind of got into the YouTube scene this year because I wanted to expand in the beekeeping community, and it's been awesome meeting people like you, Grayson.
Yeah, awesome. That's actually going to be a question. What kind of made you get into the YouTube side of things with your beekeeping channel?
Well, I had been doing it 6 or 7 years, and I'm a backyard beekeeper. So I get 3 hives. I've had as many as 5, but I like to keep it pretty small. You can look out my kitchen window and I've got my bees right there, and I like that. I like if I'm working at home and I need a little break, I can just go sit out at the beehives and watch them. Like I just love that. And every year I've progressed in my beekeeping knowledge, my beekeeping skill, and I don't think anybody ever learns all they need to know. We're figuring things out as we go. But I thought I've enjoyed everybody that I've met in the beekeeping community, and I've watched these YouTube videos for years and years and years. All the people that everybody knows, I've watched them. I've watched all those videos, and Yappy Bee Man and 628 Dirt Rooster and Bruce's Bees and everybody, like all of them, Nature's Image and Castle High, all of them. And I just decided I wanted to be in that community, not necessarily the YouTube community, but in the beekeeping community. Like you're in Alabama, Grayson, and as a viewer, as a spectator, I wasn't able to meet you. I wasn't able to connect with you. I wasn't able to talk to you, at least not easily. And so
Mhm.
I just made this decision that I was gonna put myself out there. And for anybody that started a YouTube channel, I don't know about you, Grayson, like how you feel about it, but it's scary. Like for me, it was scary to decide that I'm gonna video myself doing my hobby that I love and open myself up to be critiqued.
Mhm.
And I just it took a little bit of courage. It was a little bit scary because I had thought about it for a while, but then I just did it, put out a couple videos, and sure, there's criticism there, which is fine. Like, that's fine. Every beekeeper does things a little bit differently, and that's one of the things that makes it beautiful. But what I found, Grayson, is that people actually did watch,
Mhm.
and they did subscribe, and they did like, and they did comment, and all of a sudden I'm interacting with all of these people, um, that are doing the exact same things that I'm doing, that have the exact same questions that I've had, and it's been so refreshing for me, to just be part of the community in that way and talk to these like-minded people. And while it's been scary, it's been so fun. So
Right.
fun. And the goal isn't subscribers. I've got like 600 and something subscribers or whatever. The goal for me is to be part of the beekeeping community. Now, I'm measuring that by subscribers, I'm measuring that by engagement. And so the more people that I can connect with, the more people in the community that I know. So
Right.
that's why I got into it. What about you, Grayson? Why how you've been doing YouTube for at least a couple years, right?
Yeah. I've been doing it for let's see here, like 3 years maybe. Like big time. YouTube. I actually probably done it even longer than that, maybe 5 years. But I really, when I actually really got serious about it was like a couple of years ago, and things been going good. And the only reason why I was gonna upload was for family and friends and stuff around here. But somebody did find me on the beekeeping community that shared my video out and my channel out, and then I went on their live stream, and kind of from there I kind of got into live streaming and videos, and like actually trying to produce something better, because back then I wasn't really the best at it. But now I've reached more people, and more people are seeing what I'm doing, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. um
Well, you do a good job. I relate a lot to what Jason is saying. Like Jason's on here, it's definitely scary, like putting yourself out there.
Mhm.
Um, uh, but I think Jason, you probably have found the same thing that I found, which is like beekeepers, the people doing YouTube are just like me and Grayson and you, just normal people just making mistakes. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like making mistakes and figuring out as they go. And so it's not that big of a deal. Like it's not that big of a deal. And I've like editing hasn't been hard for me. Setting up a camera while I'm doing a hive inspection is easy. Like the only scary part was putting yourself out there, but once I kind of got over that, like it doesn't matter. Like my mindset has been, who cares?
Mhm.
Nobody really cares as much as you do. So for Jason, you probably experienced something similar, but that's kind of been my mindset.
Yes, absolutely. Same here. I used to be kind of nervous about getting on camera and stuff, but I eventually got around to it and, got much, much better. And he says, yeah, I completely agree. I hate when I have to talk. That used to be me, but not.
Hey, listen. You don't even need to talk. As a beekeeper, you get out there and just do your
Right,
thing. Maybe that's your niche.
right.
Gigi's great, by the way. What is Gigi saying here? I haven't
Alvin,
used YouTube. I love that. I need Gigi's great. Check out her channel. Like doing stuff with your daughter. There's all these little niches and
right.
beekeepers are doing the same things. When I got into beekeeping, one of the I didn't mention this, but it didn't stick for my kids, but one of the reasons that I wanted to get into beekeeping was to find other things that I could relate to my kids with. I didn't know if beekeeping would stick with them or not, but I dragged them out and wanted to do beekeeping, and in case it stuck, that was a thing that we could do together.
Right. So my next question for you is, let's see here. What are some lessons you have learned in beekeeping?
Um, well, I've learned a lot about bees. Like you never
Mhm.
stop learning. Um, Maybe one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that mistakes are okay. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like the bees know what they're doing and they've survived for forever without us. And so, when I first started beekeeping, I would make a mess of things, and I'd feel like I'd get super frustrated, and I'd feel like I was messing them up. But the bees always rebounded, or it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was. And so, taking that into my life, um, we we fret about so many things that probably don't matter very much. Think
Mhm.
about, you probably never get road rage, Grayson, but think about that. Like, how many of us are driving down the road and we get mad at somebody for cutting us off or whatever? And you know what? Those things don't matter. Like, in the scheme of things, there's only a handful of truly important things that deeply matter. And
Mhm.
like making mistake, we get so distracted and we worry about these little things. And so probably I'm waxing a little philosophical, but that's probably one of the greatest lessons that I've had from beekeeping is that like these little mistakes don't matter. There's a handful. There's probably three, four, five things: family, you know, God, taking care of uh, the people that matter most, and all these other little things don't really matter. And so I've known that before, but beekeeping has given me a different perspective on that.
Absolutely. Now my next question is, I've been I a lot of times in a lot of my live streams, you'll probably hear me ask the same questions, but saying you can ask the same question and every beekeeper has a different answer, which is awesome about these live streams that I do. I'm sure you notice that on your live streams too. And I'm gonna get into that in just a second. But how do you manage your bees? Treatments, feeding, and stuff like that.
Um, I have Every beekeeper has a system that's kind of worked for them. And one advice that I got early was if you find something that works, like or if you talk to somebody like a mentor or another beekeeper and they found something that works, like try it, and if it works for you, just stick to it. So for example, I have a certain way that I set up the bees going into winter. So I'm in Utah, so we've got pretty long winters. Like I'm wrapping those bees up, man, probably in October, and we're not cracking them open until late March or April, like depending on how the weather's going. And early on, I'll tell you exactly what I did for winters, and then how I prepare for winter, and then what I do during the spring, summer, fall. But as an example, during the winter, I I take some of that roofing, that kind of that black tar paper, and I wrap my hives in that tar paper, and I leave the front face open, and the sun hits that, keeps it warm, and it keeps the wind from getting through the cracks that are between the boxes. I put insulation on the two sides and the back, and then I put a hive quilt on top. So for those that haven't used a hive quilt before, it's about 1.5 or 2 inch um, little box that has mesh on the bottom, and I put wood chips or burlap sack on top, and it gathers the condensation. Because the bees are in there keeping the hive around 90 degrees, that condensation's rising, and it keeps it dry. And so um, I found a lot of success winterizing my hives using that method, and so that's what I do every single time. And I'm sure there are other ways that they would survive, but because that worked, I just stay with it. Um, my I might have a bit of a different perspective also on how I treat for mites. For me, treating for mites is important, but I don't do mite washes. I don't do mite counts. I just assume that mites are always there. So what I
Mhm.
do is I use OA sponges, and I basically, not always, it's not an absolute, but I almost always have those on. I put them on in the spring, I put them on in the fall, I've got them on during the summer, and they're kind of like, they don't affect the bees negatively. They keep the hive, the mite counts down, and so I've always got OA sponges on there. And then I do Formic Pro in the spring, one round in the spring, one round in the fall, and that's it. Like that's how I do it. And my feeding is pretty easy too. Like I haven't done any pollen patties this spring. Really, I guess with one hive I did, but I'll do sugar water in the spring. I'll do sugar water in the fall. And what I found is they keep taking it as long as they need it, and then they basically stop when they don't. So I'll feed it to them a lot in the spring, and then they kind of stop, and then I feed it to them in the fall until we get the boxes uh, pretty heavy. So those are the
Yeah.
main things that I do. Sorry, I'm long-winded on that. What do you think about that, Grayson? Anything you do differently there?
No, I don't actually really do. I treat differently, but I'm glad you mentioned. So you don't test for mites, right? So you skip that part. Well, I kind of do the same thing too. I've done it a couple times. Like I have a mite wash that put alcohol or
Hmm.
Dawn dishwasher soap in there, and I've done that multiple times. But I just kind of got away from it. It's just there's a good chance that there's gonna be a mite or two, and it's good to go ahead and treat. I treated half of the colonies with Apivar, and that's probably about it. The other half I just didn't have enough Apivar. I need to get some more and put those on the other half. But all the bees are doing really good here. I'm liking the growth, but nothing really I would do different there. I usually treat with Apivar, and I've used Apigar before. I want to try out some OA soon. Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
Jed said I don't want to pronounce her name
Gigi.
wrong, but Gigi. Okay, good, good. Jed, do you keep the OA sponges during the nectar flow?
I do. Mm-hmm. Yep, I do. Because I've done, we could go look it up right now, pull it up on Chat GPT, but the research that I've done is that you can have those OA sponges and use OA during the nectar flow without it being harmful to the bees or have a negative effect on the honey. So I absolutely do. I haven't seen any issues with it at all from the bees perspective. It's kind of a slow burn type of treatment. I haven't found any negative effects from doing it even during the nectar flow. What's your opinion on that, Grayson?
Well, you know what? I really don't have. Like I've never really used OA, so I can't really speak on it. I want to use some OA soon. Um, I never really uh, treated with Apivar um during the nectar flow, but I don't. Well, but I can't really say because I don't really use OA sponges or anything like that. But I
Well,
want to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'd love to hear different opinions if that's bad to use, or if people have seen something else. You had mentioned mite washes too, by the way. Just one little thing on the mite washes. Like I'm the same as you, Grayson. I started doing it early on because
Hmm.
I saw on YouTube that that's what people did. They do these mite washes and they
Right.
do their mite counts, and so I did it. But after I'd done it a handful of times, it seemed like I was always treating for mites. And so I was like,
Right.
well, why don't I just always treat for mites then? I don't need to measure to know that I need to treat for mites anymore.
Right.
So I've always
Same.
done it. Now, I've Randy Oliver is, and others are working on these mite resistant bees where they've got this 50% that are more mite resistant. As we get into that in the beginning of having these more mite resistant bees, maybe you start treating or doing more mite washes or mite counts because they won't always need the mite treatment. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye out on.
Jack and Danae, I would like to thank you, Grayson. You left Thursday and we won the gloves from Jed, so thanks. Yeah,
But
I went afterwards. I left and I went on and played guitar for a little bit, and I totally forgot about the giveaway thing. I remember I put my name in there, but I forgot totally about it. And then when I go back afterwards, I'm thinking, nah, there's not really a chance I won, right? But then I roll through the thing, and then I say, man, I won for a little second, but then I left. But
that
that's
that
fine.
was
Yeah,
so funny.
I already won the half tool earlier, so it's good that Jack and Danae won that.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. So yeah, so everybody, Grayson joined our live stream. He had won the Hive tool before, but he actually, I mean, what's the probability of that? So low.
Uh,
Actually, we spun the wheel and he won before, but he wasn't there. So we spun it again and Jack and Danae won. So I was excited about that. Jack and Danae
yeah,
are just close to where I live in Utah. They're
really.
in they're in Wyoming there.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, Danae, you got those gloves. If you didn't, my wife told me she put them in the mail like yesterday or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the half tool too. Now another thing when we're talking about getting things, I recently I bought a whole bunch of these Queen Right dolls, or that Jason and you're talking about Castle Hobbs and Brian. So I've got some of these, and I'm going to put them on the house because since I'm kind of starting to grow a little bit, a lot of times I might not remember everything. But I think they're going to work good for what I do. But but another reason why I bought these things is to make sure this live stream stays dialed in and make sure.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're dialed in. That's right. That's the thing. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
we
That was
gotta make
new to
sure.
me.
Yep. Grayson and I have great luck on YouTube for winning things. Yeah, I win sometimes. You know what? I used to not really be lucky. I used to be lucky at one point in time before, but then there was this long stretch where I couldn't win anything. But then finally, whenever I went on Jed's live stream, I won the half toll, and then I won. For a second, I won the gloves. But for real, Jack and Dene, I'm glad y'all won that. I already got the half toll, and I still have some gloves. They still work pretty good. Um, let's see. Frank has a quick question here. Actually, did get this type of question last this Saturday. I did like a Zoom meeting with the Minnesota Beekeepers Association. And they're kind of the main guy who was doing the thing. I kind of knew him, Tom, and he was asking me about using AI. But Frank asked, has anyone benefited from using AI in beekeeping?
Well, man, I could talk to you. We could talk a lot about this. I'm pulling up Chat GPT right now. You can't see it, but I use Chat GPT and AI every day
Really?
regarding the bees. Yep, yep. You saw my last
I
video.
saw it.
Like the last video, what I did is I took. Go check it out for anybody that didn't see it. But I took my iPad out to the hive. I gave the speaker to Chat GPT, and we just chatted. We just chatted about beekeeping, and we could do it right now. If you give us a question, I'll ask Chat GPT and we'll talk about it. But if I'm facing a challenge, or I need to troubleshoot something, have questions, like right now, I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm really struggling with wax moths.
Hmm.
Like I just can't. Like they are just. I keep my stuff in my garage, and I just can't. Like I've got the wax moth crystals, and those have worked in the past, but they're not working this year. I don't know what the deal is. And so this over the weekend I just pulled up Chat GPT and I'm just chatting with her. I call her because I've got her in a woman's voice, but I'm just chatting with GPT like, what do I do? What do other people do? Well, what if I freeze them? Why aren't the wax moth crystals working? Like, what do I need to do? And she gave me some good ideas on what I could do. So I use AI pretty much every day regarding beekeeping. I know
Yeah.
that I'm probably an anomaly, but that's the truth. That's a true story.
Hmm. I use it a good amount too on the, for YouTube and stuff. I have used it like once or twice, in the bee yard and stuff. But I mainly use it for like live stream stuff. Actually this I hear I got some title. I always keep the title the same for everything, but like descriptions and um mainly what I use it for the live stream is my email newsletter that I'll put out is
Hmm.
what I mainly use it for.
That's a good idea.
And I use it a lot for other things too, descriptions for videos and titles, tags, and it
So
works
let's
good.
let's try something. You ready, Grayson? Let's try something. I'm going to take Gigi's question. I'm going to ask it to Chat GPT and let's see what she says. Are you ready?
All right.
Okay, it might blow up in my face. Let's find out. Hey, how you doing this afternoon?
Hey, Jed, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm doing great. Hey, I'm on a live stream right now, and Gigi had a question about using OA sponges during the nectar flow. Do you think that's okay?
I'm glad to hear you're doing great. As for using oxalic acid sponges during the nectar flow, it's generally not recommended. The main concern is that oxalic acid can contaminate the honey that bees are actively producing, which isn't ideal for human consumption. It's best to use those treatments when honey supers aren't on the hive or when you're not in the middle of a nectar flow. If you absolutely need to treat during this time, you might consider alternative methods that are safer for honey production.
Are you sure about that? I've heard OA isn't bad for consumption. In fact, it's in a lot of our foods, and I've also seen studies that it's okay to use during the nectar flow.
You're right that oxalic acid is naturally present in many foods and is generally safe in small amounts. Some beekeepers do use oxalic acid treatments during nectar flow, especially in countries where it's approved and considered safe. The key is to ensure that any residue levels remain within safe limits for consumption. If you've seen studies and local guidelines that support it, then it could be fine. It's always a good idea to double check with local regulations and recommendations just to be sure.
All right, thanks for your help.
Of course, anytime. Good luck with the rest of your live stream.
That's pretty cool, right? So
Yeah, that's
that's
pretty
how I
interesting.
use that's how I use GPT all the time. I'm
Really?
just chatting with her about different things that I run into. And listen, GPT is the way that AI works is it's pulling from content all over the internet. So it's not
Really?
always right necessarily. That's why you have to
Right.
ask the questions.
Right. Jason says it's not. It's because it's not allowed in Canada, so that's why it's coming up like that.
There you go. Good call.
So my next topic that I want to ask is splitting. The Mari method, because I've been seeing on your channel. Make sure to check out Jed's channel, folks. After the live stream, once we're done here, I have it in the description below. All the links there you need to see. But I wanted to ask you kind of how the Mari method works for some people who might not really know about it. I'm not really big on it. I've been wanting to learn a little bit more about it for maybe an upcoming live stream or something. But if you could just explain a little bit about the Mari method and why it can be helpful for a lot of beekeepers.
Um, yeah, it's a great question. First of all, I've always pronounced it Demare, but I don't know if
Really?
that's the right pronunciation. It might be something different like Demery or
Right.
Demery. I've heard people say I don't know the right way, but I always say Demare. But uh, when we go into spring as beekeepers, what are we trying to do, right? Like you're trying to keep the control the swarming, and you can do that through splitting the hive, giving them more space, make sure the queens is in good shape, and the Damari method is a way to trick the bees into thinking they're swarming, just like a split. So you trick them into thinking they're swarming, but instead of doing a regular split where you would create a new colony, you trick them into thinking they split by leaving them in the same colony. Now, and I can go into tactics about how you do that, but the advantage of doing that is if you're somebody like me and you don't want more hives, because I don't know about you, but I did a split on one of my hives. Well, I'm not going to get honey from that hive this year. With the Damari method, even when it doesn't work well, I've always found that I get honey. New hives don't typically, first year hives don't typically get honey. So I trick them into thinking that they've swarmed, and the way that you do it is by isolating the queen in the bottom box on a frame of brood, and then you give other frames that are fully drawn comb or even just wax foundation frames at the bottom. And so the queen's down in the bottom with a bunch of other bees and that brood, and they start building it out. And so the queen is there, and she's got tons of space. Those bees that are down there with her have tons of space. And what you do is you put a queen excluder, and there are different ways to do this. Like there are different tactics and strategies that you can use, but put the queen excluder above that brood box, that single brood chamber. Put a super, just a empty super, empty meaning ideally fully drawn comb on top of that, and put another one, and then put the brood on the top box. So you've got basically two empty supers with a brood box on top with that came from all of those other frames that had brood on them. And after 7 or 8 days, go in there in those top box and kill all the queen cells, or destroy all the queen cells that they produce, because they think that they swarmed and they think that they're queenless. It just happens that way. So you have to destroy those, and then boom, just like that, 1 week to another, you went from a single brood chamber or a double brood chamber with no supers to like a single brood chamber with 3-4 supers of honey. Now, I will say this, and this has happened to me this year. You're tricking them into thinking that they've swarmed, but sometimes that doesn't work, and so you have to go into that bottom brood chamber and cut out any queen cells if you don't want them to swarm. Now, I did that for 2 or 3 weeks after I did my Damari method this year, and now I think, knocking on wood over here, the urge to swarm for them is gone, and here I am with this just massive hive.
Lisa says, I've done them for 3 years now, and they always do well. I don't knock down queen cells, and if they make new queens, I have splits and plenty of honey. If not, more honey.
There you go. So Lisa's way to do that is great if you're looking to expand too. It's a win-win. Like it's just this win-win. You get this mega hive, and or you're creating more hives with it. So it's worked really well.
All right. Hey Dave, DC. DC says making your splits at the proper time can actually increase honey production.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Especially depending on. So by the right time, it probably means if the hive's doing really, really well and you have enough frames to move over a bunch of brood. The split that I did this year, I did the split when there were queen cells there, so that accelerated the production. That makes sense. What have you found with that when you do splits, Grayson?
Well, I actually made, most of my splits like in March going into, early April into late April, and that's the time where they're, booming and they're doing really, really strong. Now this year, I really wasn't really focused on making any honey. That wasn't my goal or anything. So, there is some supers on top of the hives, but I'm probably most likely just going to leave those for the bees, but we'll see. I'm really not sure yet, but I'm not really focusing on making honey, but I made my splits around April. Actually, really, whenever I made the splits is whenever they started making queen cells, because that was my goal this year, was to just split the bees whenever they start making queen cells, and that's telling me that, hey, they're ready to swarm. It's the right time to do it.
So what have you got? How many hives are you at right now?
Me, I'm
Yeah.
at 12 colonies. All of them have mated queens, and a good amount of them are already starting to build up into 10 frame boxes. I just gotta keep, now the main goal right now is just to keep these bees building up, get them ready for the summer period, because I was talking about that also in this last Saturday, 2 days ago, whenever I was doing the Zoom meeting with that association up there in Minnesota. I was really talking about where we're summer, we really don't have a whole lot of stuff out there. It's really iffy, down here. So I'm just getting them built up, making sure that they are building up quite nicely for the summer period, and then we'll have our goldenrod and stuff, and then we'll get ready for winter.
Don't you guys
DC says,
have? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Dave just was saying, from what I've seen from reviews, if you make your split a brood cycle before your main flow.
Okay. Oh, that's a good call. So what Dave's saying is just time it right so they grow really fast right before your main flow. That makes sense.
We have a question here from Edwin, and I also want to thank Edwin Stone for the $2 donation. Thank you very much.
Let's go, Edwin. That's cool.
And he asks, anyone tried to build nukes before? I'm new. Now I think somebody else did ask. He didn't really do a follow up question. We're not really sure if he's talking about making the the bees or the boxes. I've made boxes and built nukes before. What about you?
No, I haven't. I haven't gotten into it. I'm getting more and more interested. The gentleman that I do the live stream with, Bracken at Barker's Bees, he's gotten into grafting this year and was thinking about, hey, maybe I'll do nukes with these, use them on my own hive. I have not personally done that. It's not a bad play though. Like, I mean, what does a nuke go for, right? You could probably sell a nuke for a couple $100, couldn't you?
Yep, you can. I think they go for like $170, $200, somewhere around there, depending on what you get.
Yeah, so if you did that, you're paying for one or two of those. You're paying for your beekeeping stuff for the whole year. So not a bad move. I personally haven't had experience doing it. Maybe that's what I'll do next year, but this year I'm messing with other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've built or whenever you're talking about building nukes, I don't build nukes, like the bees themselves to sell or anything, for myself. Never building nukes to sell, but I have built boxes, like hand building them. Actually, that was actually a project I had a couple weeks back. Haven't finished everything yet, but I was able to build 2 of them so far, and they turned out really, really good. Really liking what I was able to make out of them, and I don't think I got a picture or anything. If I did, I would show it on here. But there,
did you get it like it? Did you order like something that came with the wood slats and everything, and you put them together? Or did you cut all that yourself?
cut all the wood from scratch.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just got some wood from Lowe's, and I just cut it all and put it together, and it wasn't really too difficult. All I really have to do was do all the cuts correctly. I had to cut it down to 10 inches. Because I get it 1x12, and then I have to cut off 2 inches because of the way I build them, and then I have to take a router and just route the edges about an inch for the sides to fit in, and then go 3 ways, so you can have your slants here going that way, and then your top for the frames. That's kind of how I do them. It turned out really good though, and I was thinking about doing a video of it, but I didn't. But I still have some more wood, so maybe I'll make a video sometime.
Yeah, you should. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining in tonight, Jason. Hey everyone, I gotta go eat dinner. I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you for joining in tonight, Jason. Gigi has a question. Grayson, where are you located? I'm down here in southeastern Alabama. And we have not too much bad weather in winter, but we did get some some snow in this January, which was kind of, we never really get snow, which was kind of rare. But hey, I had
How
to be.
hot is it right now, Grayson?
How hot is it right now? Well, right now I can't really look at my camera. I think it's like in the high 80s or something. In
High
90s, it's been in the
80s.
90s. Low 90s, like 90 degrees, and then the high 80s is what's kind of been.
Do you do there in Alabama? Do you do a couple extractions? Do you do one in like June and then one again in September?
Depends if I'm focusing on what I'm trying to do. If I'm wanting to leave honey on in fall, I usually don't extract any in fall, and I'll just extract one time in spring. But then in spring time, I'll extract, in June. Well, last year when I extracted in late July because they actually were continuing to pack things in. The main thing I was really trying to do was get those bees to start capping off the nectar, because all the nectar was in there. I was just waiting for them to cap it off, and I'd take it out. So I had to give them a little bit of extra time to do that, but they got it done and was able to extract. That was July like 20th or something.
What's your opinion on the frames that don't have fully capped honey on them? Like how do you decide whether the nectar the water content is low enough? I don't know if you actually have I forget the name of that tool.
The refractometer.
Yeah, refractometer. How do you decide?
Have a refractometer. I need to get one, which would be a good thing to get, but I don't have one. But usually whenever I look at frames, if I see multiple frames with, non-capped honey, with nectar, then I'll just leave it there for a little while. But let's say we have one frame. If I'm looking at one frame and 80% of it, 75% of it is capped honey, I'm most likely just going to go ahead and extract it, because it's a good chance all the rest of the honey is pretty much close to being ready to that content. Now, I guess there is a chance. So, if most of the honey is capped, I'll go ahead and extract it. But let's say half of it's not capped, I'll leave it in there and let them continue working on it. Because last year, that's what I did, because it wasn't fully capped. So, because I also wasn't really in a huge rush, so I really didn't, care how long it really took. You just didn't want to do it too late.
That makes sense.
See, I'm making sure I didn't miss any questions here. Gigi says, oh no, not this one. Oh, we're neighbors. I'm in South Mississippi.
Okay.
Nice. It's
it's
Who
good else is in Mississippi? Somebody I watch is in Mississippi. Is that where? Do you follow 628 Dirt Rooster? Isn't he in Mississippi?
I see he's down there. I've actually had him on a live stream like a couple years ago, and he's down there in Mississippi, so he's not too far away from here too. He's down there, and I can't remember exactly where he's at, but he's down there in that area in Mississippi, and he actually sent me a hat, one of the Dirt Rooster hats, whenever we got done with the live stream, which was very kind of him.
Yeah, that's cool. Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he is. This whole community is really good. Edwin was saying I meant building new hives, so I guess he's meaning like the bees. Okay, cool. With 2 frames of brood. Well, whenever I made my splits this year, I put 3 frames of brood in there and 2 frames of honey. So that's kind of what I did. And they did really, really good. They had the queen cell already in there, and they were able to do quite nicely. And now they're really nicely building up. The queen patterns are really, really good. I actually did take a picture of the queen pattern because I was going through one colony, and the the brood pattern of these queens are looking really, really good, and they got nicely mated. So I'm happy with that. So, it's been really, really good so far. In the apiary, splitting and stuff like that. So how many hives do you have right now?
I just stay with 3. Like I've had as many as 5, but if they're just in my backyard, and so right. I keep it pretty small. If I had more time and more space, I'd probably do more. but I don't want, one thing that's important for me, Grayson, is that I don't want beekeeping to become a job.
Oh, I get you.
And not that it can't be fun if it is. Like I don't feel that way at all. Um, but I always want it to be for me what it was meant to be, which is a hobby and a lot of fun.
Right.
So I keep my um, hive count small. And then the other thing, the other advantage that I really enjoy about that is I don't have to rush through my hive inspections. Like I look
Right.
forward to the Saturdays. I can take it easy. And probably even with like 10 to 15, you can do that. You don't
Right.
need to be in every hive every week. Like that's you probably shouldn't be actually.
Right.
And so you can probably take your time even with up to 10 to 15.
Right.
I'm guessing. I don't know. What have you found?
Yeah. I'm finding that 12 right now isn't really too much for me to handle. I can probably go up even more, but that's probably where I'm going to stay at around for this year. Probably go in hopefully with 12. That's what I want to go in with, and hopefully come out with around 10 or 12. And of course, I couldn't get. It's not always gonna. Not every single colony will make it, but I hope they get most of them back in next year. Then that's really going to give me a good foundation as long as all of them do well, go through winter, and that would really give me a good foundation for next year. I'd have more areas where I could do things, where I can have. What I'm really thinking for next year, if I can get 8, 10 colonies to next year, then I could put half of them aside for just production hives for honey and stuff like that. And I could take another half aside and use those mainly for splits. The same way I did this year. Then that would boost my numbers and get honey at the same time. It's kind of what I'm thinking maybe for next year, as long as everything goes well. Edwin has a question here. It says, do I need to feed sugar water?
Like for me, I think absolutely. I kind of, I don't know if you missed this, Edwin, but I said that I went over my method of feeding in the spring. I'm pro feed, like I'm feeding them a lot, and I found that until they're really rocking and rolling, they'll keep eating, and they'll stop eating when they're done, and I found that they always do. Um, so I would say yes. Let me tell you just for a second, and then weigh in on this, Grayson, but the way I do sugar water is one of the first books that I got when I started beekeeping was Beekeeping for Dummies, or what is it? Beekeeping for Idiots? I don't remember. Just whatever
I
that
think
is, that yellow and yeah,
beekeeping for dummies, I think is what it's
for
called.
dummies, yeah. And they've got a good little section there on sugar water, and so I do from a 1-to-1 ratio, sugar to water, to two, even up to a 2-to-1, like 2 sugars to 1 water, but 1-to-1, up to a 2-to-1. And then I put together a little mix, and Edwin, if you want to message me separately, I can give it to you like this. Um, uh, a recipe of some essential oils and different things that I put in my sugar water that's supposed to help them with their health. I forget the nosema. Is that a thing?
That's right.
Am I
That's it.
saying that right?
That's right. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. It's supposed to help them with that. So that's how I put together my sugar water, and I do it in the spring pretty aggressively, and I do it in the fall pretty aggressively.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll feed my splits. If I really need to. And down here, we have different temperatures and stuff, but down here, whenever I made my splits, the flow was really kicking in. So right whenever I made the splits, I was gonna go back in and put some sugar water on top, but I checked those splits just to see kind of what they're looking like, and they already started to pack the frames full of honey. So I decided I wouldn't put any in there because I didn't want to put too much in there. And but if I'm in a spot where there's not much of a nectar flow, I'm absolutely gonna put some food on them.
Yeah, that's a good call. They don't need you to feed them. I'm pro feed, but to Grayson's point, like they've done this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honeybee health is that mix. I've got my own recipe, and Edwin, I can send it to you again if you message me separately. Um, but but um, yeah, it's essentially a copycat of honeybee health is what I use. One thing, Edwin, and you're probably aware of this, but and weigh in on this, Grayson, as well. But if you have a new hive where they need to draw out combs still, I think in those cases it's most important to feed because it takes so many resources for them to build wax, for them to build that comb.
Yeah. I don't really, whenever I feed, I don't really use a whole bunch of stuff. I've also used I've used Apis Biologics and Brood Booster to, boost brood. I need to get some more Apis Biologics though. That's one thing I do use, and it works really, really nicely.
Yeah, I'm kind of a cheapskate, and so I think Honeybee Health is great. I've heard great things about it. My mentor had a recipe that he said was a copycat of Honeybee Health, and so that's what I do there to boost them. But I think something like that to help boost them makes a lot of difference.
Right. Tim and Hannah. That's Tim and Hannah from Gun Line Bees. They do chats too. I think he's responding to the comment up there, earlier. I thought it was pretty interesting though. Check out Cornell University America Bee Journal and search. I don't know how you spell that. Chaff halves. There's several articles on how well it works. Research the late 1800s and early 1900s, and that's one thing I was going to. When I see that comment, that Tim, sent me a thing about the Damari method. And it was wrote by Damari himself, and it was in the what was it, the American Bee Journal, something like that. I haven't read it yet, but I think that's gonna be pretty interesting because when I get around to doing a live stream about that, because I do live stream sometimes by myself, and I just have a specific topic, and when I get around to that, I'm gonna be reading that and see what who Damari himself says about it.
Yeah, I like that. That's good advice by Gunline Bees. They give good suggestions. You know what they're talking about.
I'm located in Edison, Georgia, so not too far from here in Alabama too.
Welcome to beekeeping, Edwin. Enjoy.
Apis works very well for us. Yep, I've used Apis Biologics for, a while now. A friend of mine, Bob Walker from Walker Bee Ranch, he was actually the guy who got me into the whole thing, and he sent me a bag of each, the activator and the other one. I can't really remember what it is, but they work really good. Really got the bees pumped up and ready. And you know what? I found that brood booster that I use. I found it somewhere on Amazon, and I found that brood booster really boosted up the colony's numbers really, really fast. Because right when I started feeding that is whenever they got really, really, the colonies that I split, that I was aiming to split, that I wanted them to get pretty big. They really got big and made up some queen cells, and I split them. I fed in the fall, and they stored that sugar syrup away. They used it this spring, I believe it added it in their spring startup.
I haven't used Apis myself. Sounds like it's great.
Yeah, it does work pretty well, and I think that's what Ian Stepler calls rocket fuel.
Well, Ian Stepler knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I've talked to him before on live streams too. It's a good person up there in Canada. Also another thing that I was kind of thinking about. I can't imagine what it is like for those folks up there, and I don't know about your location. I know in Utah, does it get pretty cold up there? Like, I guess it's probably different than here, right?
Oh yeah, way different. So you mentioned that you guys. I saw some videos from the Alabama beekeeping community. You guys got that snow in January.
Yes.
Well, we get a lot of snow in Utah, but I don't think we're anything compared to like where Ian Stepler is. Like Utah's famous for skiing. We're right up against the mountains. There's a ton of snow in the mountains, but in the valleys, you get half a dozen good snowstorms a year, but not too much snow, but it's still cold enough that you're not beekeeping for 5, almost 6 months of the year.
Really? Okay. Well, I was thinking that it must be much different up there than it is for us, because I was thinking, because down here in Alabama, if it's really snowing like 6 inches, which is really crazy for down here, I can't really imagine what it feels like for like Ian Stepler and those folks up there who's dealing with it.
Well, you Grayson were in your hives about a full month before we got into our hives in Utah.
Right.
And I think in Utah, we were in the hives probably at least 2, maybe 3, even 4 weeks before they were up in Canada or even some of the like
Right.
Michigan areas.
Right. Says Jed, are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook but not for beekeeping. Love to connect though, Edwin. Just Jed Smith. Look me up. I'm the good-looking bald guy.
Let's see here. Make sure if y'all have any questions, please put them in the comments. We've already gone for 55 minutes, so I'll soon here get close to ending it off. Haley, Kodiak Farms, he's also down in Louisiana, so another southern person. So thanks for joining in. Yeah, it's but I think everything's going well for a lot of folks. I've been watching videos. Seems like everybody's getting going, especially all over the U.S. because it's not just us. Now you guys are really getting going. And a whole bunch of other people up there. Their bees are booming. I've been watching Brian. I was kind of talking earlier since there's a couple more people in here. I did order some queen rat dials. A lot of people enjoy these things, so I figured, hey, I'll try them out. And they came out with these new, what do they call them? These advanced ones where they're kind of like where you have more things. And since I'm kind of growing my operation, I figured, hey, it might be good to remember things because sometimes I really don't remember. Sometimes I'll forget things, but I think that will work out good. But I've been seeing a lot of folks enjoying them and liking them, and so I figured, hey, I'll get some. So I got 10 of them, more than I really thought that was in it. I thought really there was only like 3 in a pack, but there's actually 5 in a pack. We got 2 packs. Yeah, DC says I want to get some of those dials. I think they are a nice tool. Yeah, I think they're nice. I think they're gonna be good because you'll have your different options. Like you can put if you have a virgin queen, no queen, no cells, and swarm cell, mated queen. Then on your side here you have if what you need to do, if you need to inspect, treat, or harvest and add space, which I think is pretty cool. So it's gonna make my operation a touch more organized because it seems like in the past years, whenever I was running things, it really wasn't organized. It was just kind of the Wild West. But I think this is gonna make things a lot more organized and it will help me out a little bit, I think. But yeah, everybody's starting to get going, which is a good thing. I'm seeing that people's bees are building up and doing good things, so I'm glad to hear that. But I guess we will start ending this thing off since we're kind of close here. If anybody has any late time questions, I'll try to put those in there. If you do, I'll try to answer them. We'll try to answer them real quick. If y'all would please go and click the thumbs up button and make sure to check Jed's channel out. And this has been fun. Thanks for joining in tonight.
Yeah, man, this has been a riot. Grayson, I just got to tell you, man, everybody knows this, but you're a pillar in the beekeeping community for real. Like your attention to everybody, you keep in touch with everybody, you comment, you're very engaged. You've done podcasts with everybody, and you treat people equally, even people like myself that's new on the YouTube community, and super grateful for you, man. And I agree. Like what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing around the country with beekeeping is it's going to be a good year, really big year. And I know we got a rocky start because of what some of the commercial beekeepers experience there in California and some of that decline. But it seems like it's going to be a big year.
I think so too. I have not, Frank. Have you used hive heaters? I've never done that. The only reason why I haven't done that is because a lot of times if you do that, then it'll kind of trick the bees a little bit, and that type of stuff. But yeah, I think this year will be a really good year for all us beekeepers, and I think I haven't really heard. I really don't know if the commercial beekeepers are still experiencing that problem. Haven't really heard a whole bunch, more out of it. It's kind of died off a little bit in the YouTube side of things. But I'm really thinking that maybe that they're getting that under control in their side of the beekeeping business and stuff. But I try to in all my live streams is get good people on here who have some good information like yourself, and a whole bunch of other people try to treat people the same way, no matter who they are, what they do in the beekeeping world, and kind of no matter how many subscribers or whatever. I try to treat people the same way on the live streams, and I think people see that. Edwin, real quick, says, hit me up, Jed. So thank you all. Yeah, absolutely. So thank you all for joining in the live stream tonight. We very much appreciate you all, and we appreciate everybody watching. And make sure to check out Jed's channel if you haven't already. Check him out. Subscribe, click the like on some of his videos. He has a really good channel over there, trying to help him out any way that we possibly can. So again, thank you for watching, Jed, and the folks, and thank you for joining tonight.
Thank you. Let's do it again, Grayson. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
thanks,
absolutely.
everybody.